What's doing, everybody? Today is Thursday, August 21st. I've got Senator Eric Schmitt joining me on the podcast today. Huge win for the GOP as they add 5 congressional seats after the redistricting battle comes to a close. I'm AlecLace. This is the AlecLace Show.
The American family is under attack. Parents are the underdog of this nation. Your children are being indoctrinated. That's right. Your children. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to the school system. They belong to you, the parents, as a blessing from God our Father. So let's preserve, protect, and fight for the American family together. You're listening to the AlecLace Show. The future is family.
All right, welcome everybody to the AlecLace Show. I'm happy and honored as always to be here with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching the broadcast as it streams live on Rumble, please get down there, hit the follow button, and don't forget to share the broadcast with everybody in your network, in your neighborhood. Let's get as many people into that live broadcast as possible. I got a great program for you. Senator Eric Schmitt is coming back to the podcast today. He's got a new book that just dropped on Tuesday, The Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court. President Donald Trump just posted about it yesterday or 2 days ago. Highly recommending it. He's one of the good ones that we have in the Senate. They'll be back in Washington, and I believe September 2nd, and hopefully we'll get moving quick on so many things. There's so many things we got to do while we have the ball in our court, and we know that the midterms are going to be vitally important here. We get a step in the right direction with a big win. We're going to start out with that here. We got a huge win with adding 5 seats in Texas. Now, this thing was because this caught so much attention because the Democrats tried to do everything to stop it, and they wanted to. They took flight. They left the state. They were doing everything they could to try to stop the Republicans from adding these 5 seats. The gerrymandering. They're like, oh, my God, they're doing what we're doing now. They're actually taking an approach to win. Trump talked about this on Truth Social, saying, big win for the great state of Texas. Everything passed. On our way to 5 more congressional seats and saving your rights, your freedoms, and your country. Texas never let us down. Florida, Indiana, and others are looking to do the same thing. More seats equals less crime, a great economy, and a strong Second Amendment. It means happiness and peace. And President Donald Trump is absolutely right. And these other states will follow suit. I think that this is the time to go on the attack. And Gavin Newsom, of course, is going to try to stack the deck even more in California. He was going to do that anyway. Don't think for a second that they were just going to sit there and say, oh, there's an opportunity to add more seats. We're not going to do it. They're going to do it. So they're going to play this game. We have to match them with it. And the midterms, President Donald Trump knows how important that is. And it all comes down to this last year here. We're right in the thick of it now as we hit September. The Senate will be back in session, the House back in session. It's going to be a push right now until the midterms next year. And so it's time to make something happen. This was big. I know the Senate, I think, has to confirm. Whatever it is, we passed the hurdle that was going to be necessary is what's important there. But I think it's another one of these things that kind of show maybe the Republicans are willing to fight a little bit because this is something that, they should have done a long time ago, and you hope to see it in these other states to give us a little bit more power like you're seeing what the Democrats do as they did it in Illinois. I had Jim Paff on here last week who was saying that they would love to do it more in Illinois, but there's no more room. They've maxed out. In so many of these places, they've maxed out with what they can do. California, they still have some room. And now Gavin Newsom, who seems to be the big front runner, right, to be the 2028 candidate. It's wild to see that, too. I was putting that up yesterday. Here, look at this. This is that Poly Market, which became huge, by the way. This has become like the go-to thing now, Poly Market. It's like, to find out the odds on all this stuff. But here, the Democrat nominees, Gavin Newsom shot up yesterday, up to over 30% before falling a little bit. Now he's at 27%. Democrat presidential nominees for 2028. Gavin Newsom, 27%. AOC, 14%, Pete Buttigieg, 8%, and Wes Moore, 5%. I don't even know who Wes Moore is. So Gavin Newsom, AOC, Pete Buttigieg. That's the bench that the Democrats have. I have a feeling that there's going to be somebody that comes out of left field here because I don't think any of those have a chance to really make an impact, and certainly not presidential. Gavin Newsom is just a he's a polished politician is what he is. He's a bullshitter. Everybody knows that. He's been a failed governor in California. No matter how many times he tries, he's very, very good. Don't get me wrong. The guy is good at what he does. There's no question about that. He's a talented politician because he has a way of taking a city that has burned down behind him and making it look like a paradise. I mean, he is very talented in a way that not every politician can do that as well as Gavin Newsom does, right? He's got more people leaving his state than any other state in the union, and he's got a way of turning that around to be like, oh, we changed misdirection and changed it to somewhere else. You got businesses fleeing your state, and he finds a way to turn it all around. So he definitely has the bullshit quality that it takes to become a politician. He's got it very well. But he is, I don't think, a strong enough candidate, strong enough person, strong enough character to get anywhere near the White House. So, and then AOC, I think she's more of a comedy routine than anything else. I don't think that that's a serious candidate. I can't believe that would be a serious candidate. I mean, she could do well in a district full of people who are like the district that she's in. It's all rigged, and there's no way she could lose. I mean, that's best suited for her. So on the Republican side, according to Polymarket, obviously J.D. Vance, 53%. And then behind him, Marco Rubio. They have Donald Trump still at 3.9. And, as much as it would be fun to see him make a run for a third term, I don't think we're going to see that happen. And then they have Tulsi Gabbard. So our bench, obviously, for 2028 looks a lot better than theirs does. I mean, J.D. Vance alone, Marco Rubio, who is really ignited his popularity because people were kind of like questioning that when Marco Rubio got the Secretary of State job. And now he's been crushing it there. And so you have him, you got Tulsi Gabbard, and I think that we match up much better. And it's going to be interesting to watch the whole primary for the GOP, too, as well. But I know we're a long way from that. We got to win the midterms first. One thing I had to hit on this because I posted about this yesterday. Wolf Blitzer, right? Now, the Democrats are so upset that crime is coming down in D.C., which now there hasn't been a homicide in 7 days. Carjackings are down 83%. And the Democrats are pissed. So here's Wolf Blitzer. He posts this. This is a big negative. This is what I saw when I drove by Washington, D.C.'s Union Station this morning. And it's a picture of the National Guard. Now, I replied to him saying, Wolf Blitzer preferred when Union Station looked like this, right? When it was a tent city. Is this really what you want? Wolf Blitzer, if you check his account, never once does he post a picture of the tents that covered the middle there in Columbus Circle in front of Union Station. He didn't post any picture saying, this is what I saw when I drove by Union Station, right? When I go through Union Station, it's homeless guys that are sleeping all over the place, mental crazy people that are walking through, and Wolf Blitzer never posts any pictures about these people. He never says, oh, this is what I encountered, right? It's like a big deal now that you're seeing the National Guard there. And you know what? No matter how much they try to gaslight you into it, everybody that has to do business in that state, in that city, everybody that's got to walk through there to go to school, everybody that's got to pick up their kids, everybody that's got to go shopping, everybody that's got to do anything in that city, go out to eat, they are 100% extremely happy and satisfied that the National Guard is there, or whatever it took to get the element of criminals out of the streets and out of the way. They may say whatever they want on Twitter and be like, oh, yeah, Trump's authoritarian and all this other stuff. At the end of the day, they love being able to walk down the street and not have to fear for their life. There's no question about it. And the white liberals that are coming in there to protest are all coming from the outside. It was great to see that yesterday. You had Pete Hegseth and J.D. Vance in Union Station, and you have these white liberal protesters that are shipped in telling you, oh, no, we don't want to see the crime come down. Now, how dumb could you be? How dumb could you be to protest against crime coming down in your city? And you can talk all you want about how you have a better way to do it. Oh, we have a better way to do it. You had opportunities for decades to do something about it, and you didn't. So anything that you say that there's a better way, you're wrong. Just like all these other Democrat-run cities in Chicago and Detroit. If there's a better way, do it now. Because if not, Trump should send the National Guard in immediately. Oh, there's a better way to handle it. You don't have to do that. You have videos all over the internet now of people from Chicago saying, please send the National Guard here. Please do hear what you're doing in D.C. Because no one wants to live like that. Everyone's tired of it. I got Senator Eric Schmitt. I'm going to have him on. St. Louis is another one. They've flooded the place with FBI agents. The crime that gets out of control, you have to do something to stop it. Law-abiding citizens don't want to live like this anymore. Not in the United States. This isn't Somalia, where there's no form of government and it's just a wild, wild west. This is America. This is the wealthiest country on the planet, the best country on the planet. Why do we got to walk into a store and ask for a key to unlock the shaving cream, like you're asking for a 1,400-year-old bottle of Louis XIV or something like that? Oh, no, I just need a toothbrush. Come on, why are we living like that? Because we don't want to lock up the criminals? So Wolf Blitzer, look at what I had to walk past. As he's going to his guy, I don't know what he makes, $1 million a year, whatever it is. Like, look what I have to look at. Yeah, you're not walking the streets at night there, Wolf. What do you care? And then you had this other one, Jessica Tarloff. This one really out there herself. She puts up a post, yes, because yesterday it was a video that went viral of ICE agents, federal agents tackling this guy, right? This illegal immigrant who's crying, me no do nothing, or whatever he's saying in Spanish. He's crying. He tries to run away, right? So the video they show, he tries to run away. He gets about as far as a New York Jets running back as they try to run the ball on any play. And down he goes. So, of course, the left, oh, my God, look what they're doing to this poor guy. I can't believe this. So Jessica Tarloff goes and shoots her mouth off right away because she's a left-wing lunatic. And she says, this doesn't make D.C. safer. It just makes people not come to D.C. The cruelty is always the point. So she has no idea who the guy is. She just knows ICE is wrong. She knows the federal agents are wrong. She has no idea who this guy is. Oh, he's just an innocent guy. Look, they're just tackling him for no reason. Look what they're doing to this guy. Well, it turns out she had to eat crow, and then she had to delete the post because it turns out, and I quote tweeted her and put, Jessica Tarloff claims removing child predators from D.C. streets doesn't improve safety. The individual in the video, previously arrested for aggravated sexual assault of a child under 13, is an illegal immigrant. So, according to her, this guy should not have been tackled. They should have just let him go to roam free in the neighborhood. Sexual child predator. Now, of course, she'll deny that because she said she put up a post about why she deleted it. And she puts up, for those who think I quietly deleted my tweet, see below. When you're trying to be quiet, don't reply to Stephen Miller. I wouldn't ever want to promote knowingly wrong information, so I deleted the original tweet after DHS memo came out, which was hours after the arrest. Actually, it was up and people knew about it before she posted it. But she could play Mickey the Dope all she wants. Now, Stephen Miller posted about another incident, and I put my tweet underneath Stephen Miller's, and then Stephen Miller quote tweeted her and put it out there where everybody got to see it. But this, she's the same thing. Oh, I didn't know who he was. Well, why are you posting? This is what they do. Automatically, they assume that ICE is wrong. Everybody that ICE is going after, everybody that the DHS is going after, is just an innocent person in their minds. Oh, no. Why do you think they're after the guy? You have no clue. This guy's a sexual predator. Now, Democrats claim to want to go after sexual predators because they keep talking about the Epstein list now. So they apparently care about the people that are harming our children. But yet every time there's an illegal immigrant that's charged with these sexual crimes against children, you don't see it anywhere on CNN. You don't see it anywhere on MSNBC. You don't see Democrat politicians ever talking about it, praising ICE, praising DHS, praising Trump. Praising the Tulsi Gabbard, praising Kash Patel. You don't see any thank you for getting these scumbags off the street, these animals that are in our neighborhoods. Thank you for getting them off the streets. You don't see that. All you see is, where's the Epstein list? Where's the Epstein list? The only reason they give two shits at all about the Epstein list is because they want to play the game, Trump's on it, Trump's on it. It's the only thing. Once it comes out concrete, Trump's in the files, but he was never on the island, and there's zero that he did, then they drop the entire Epstein list like a wet towel. They don't care about anybody else. And they know damn well, because it's their judges, the Democrat-appointed judges are the ones that are denying any of the Epstein stuff from coming out. There was just another one recently, an Obama-appointed judge. So They know that none of this stuff is going anywhere. They know that they can use this thing. Oh, Trump is backing away the Epstein list. They're trying to ride that story for everything that it's worth. Meanwhile, you have actual sexual predators getting removed from the streets, and you're not congratulating ICE? You're not congratulating Tulsi? Because you're not genuine. You don't genuinely care about catching child predators. All you care about is trying to smear Trump. That's it. Jessica Tarloff. Oh, well, I didn't know who he was. Well, then why are you posting it? Why are you posting it condemning ICE? Excuse my language. I know I'm a little aggravated with some of this stuff. But why are you posting it? If you don't know who the guy is, well, why are you condemning ICE for doing it? Because the guy is screaming, I'm innocent, I didn't do nothing wrong. Oh, that means it's right? Same thing with the George Floyd. We go back to that. Oh, he's just an innocent guy. Why were they harassing this poor guy? Here's what, if you watch all these videos, there's a 99% theme that if you pay attention to. People that run from the police are genuinely guilty of a crime. And they run because they know they're screwed. And now they can play the game where if they run and they get hurt, they can sue the police and they'll get sympathy. So there's no way they're not going to run. The only way you don't run is if you've never done anything wrong. And then those are the people that obey. And those are the people that they make life hard for now. So ICE doing a great job. It was great to see that video yesterday of that takedown. And hopefully, that guy gets whatever punishment you want. We don't punish these people hard enough for these crimes against children as it is. One of the other things I was going to say is what's going on. Trump was tweeting about or posting about on Truth Social was the Smithsonian. And the left has lost it over this. He's trying to rewrite history. Oh, he's trying to rewrite the history. It's like the Smithsonian has become a left-wing mindset of what the country is all about. It's bad. When you go into the Smithsonian, the history of the United States is terrible. And whenever you see them on CNN talking about it all the time, and they're talking about, slavery. Yeah, you're trying to whitewash slavery. They never want to talk about how slavery ended. And they always want to talk about it as if it still exists today. Or as if the United States created slavery, as if it didn't exist 3,000 years ago. They make it sound as if this slavery would have never happened if the United States was never a country. And they're so dumb. And they never want to say, you know what? Thank God that the United States had hundreds of thousands of Americans who died to free the slaves. That's the story of slavery. The story of slavery is the United States ended it. Hundreds of thousands of white Americans died to free the slaves. They hate that conversation. That's the conversation that they want to whitewash from history. They don't want people to know that hundreds of thousands of white Americans died to free the slaves. They hope that story never comes out. Because what does that make? It makes it look like, well, maybe white people aren't so bad. Maybe American people aren't so bad. They righted a horrible wrong. But that's not what you see when you go into the Smithsonian, right? So the Smithsonian has this, like things like this when you walk in there and you see the graphics. This is one of them that's a beauty here. I'll put this one up on the board. Talking about race, aspects and assumptions of whiteness and white culture in the United States. White dominant culture or whiteness refers to the ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practice in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have all internalized some aspects of white culture, including people of color. So what is this white culture they're talking about? Rugged individualism, family structure, emphasis on scientific method, hard work ethic, religion, status, power, and authority, future orientation, time, holidays, justice, competition, communication. So it's like they make it all sound like Trump posted about this thing too, man, because it gets so crazy. The museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future. We are not going to allow this to happen. I have instructed my attorneys to go through the museums and start the exact same process that has been done with colleges and universities where tremendous progress has been made. This country cannot be woke because woke is broke. But we have the hottest country in the world, and we want to talk about it, including in our museums. And let's go back to the Wolf Blitzer thing here. Should we not? How come when you walk into Union Station, like you have all this history, right, that's there? Why don't we have the picture of the tent cities hanging up on big mosaics? Why don't we have big paintings of tent cities and the homeless people and the youths that are out of control, like a pack of hyenas running around robbing cars and robbing people? Why don't we have pictures of that and put them all over Washington's Union Station? Because that's the story of D.C.'s Democrat leadership, right? Shouldn't we expose that and show, hey, here's where your Democrat policies have gotten. Look, here's a nice carjacking. Look, here's a little old lady that was had her head crushed in. Look, these are the Democrat policies and where they led us. Look, let's put pictures of them everywhere. No, you know what you're going to put pictures of? The clean city, the shining city on the hill. You're gonna put pictures of how Washington, D.C. is supposed to be and the way that we are making it now. It's the same with all of our country's history. Yeah, there's negative spots on it. There's no question about it. And there's the part of it is that we've righted it. We've done the right thing. But the Democrats, the left-wing lunatics, never want to let it go. And it gets tiring to see. All right, last thing I want to hit on here before we'll switch gears and we'll bring on Senator Schmitt is Trump talking about Tina Peters today. And I think this is something I was hoping to see him talk about much earlier in his presidency. I was hoping kind of like, the same week maybe he pardoned the January 6ers. I was kind of hoping he'd put this thing out about Tina Peters. Free Tina Peters, the brave and innocent patriot who has been tortured by crooked Colorado politicians, including the big mail-in ballots supporting the governor of the state. Let Tina Peters out of jail right now. She did nothing wrong except catch the Democrats cheat in the election. She is an old woman and very sick. If she's not released, I'm going to take harsh measures. And this is rightfully so. Another one that's been in there way too long, and she's a Gold Star mom. As a matter of fact, if you watch my show Tuesday, I was up there with the Navy SEALs as they did the swim across the Hudson River, and I interviewed Bill Brown and spoke to him. So if you saw that clip, you saw me mention it. But Tina Peters' son, Remy Peters, he died in the Hudson River. He was doing a jump with the leapfrogs over the Hudson River, and his parachute didn't open. So he burned in right into the Hudson River and died. And so she's a Gold Star mom. They always have him. I remember one year that I did the swim with the SEALs, the leapfrogs parachuted in with a huge flag with Remington Peters' name on it in honor of him. They also had another SEAL that died in the Hudson River this year, 6 months ago, with the tour guide that was flying around, and then the freaking propeller just popped off, and then that whole family died. But that pilot was also a Navy SEAL. Anyway, what's going on with Tina Peters has been a crime, and it's something that I hope will come out very quickly here and happen very quickly. She's old, sick, shit. Again, never too late, but this was definitely something that you wanted to see happen a little bit earlier, and it didn't. So, unfortunately, she's been in there way too long, and I pray for her release. All right, so let's turn our attention now. We got Eric Schmitt, Senator Eric Schmitt, coming back to the podcast. He is the former Attorney General of Missouri. Hey, by the way, Andrew Bailey just got promoted into the Trump administration. Happy to see that. Attorney General Andrew Bailey, friend of the show here. He's been on, I got him on the background there, too. He's been on quite a few times. I'd love to get him back on. I was just trying to schedule with him, too, actually, last week. Now that he got this promotion into the Trump administration, I don't know how that's going to work out, but I will continue to pursue it. Anyway, Eric Schmitt was the Attorney General in Missouri. He is now the Senator in Missouri. And he has got a brand new book out titled The Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court. I think it's a timely book. It's an important one. It came out on Tuesday. And none other than President Donald Trump put out a big post for Senator Eric Schmitt. He puts this out saying, My good friend Eric Schmitt, former Attorney General and now Senator from the great state of Missouri, has a wonderful new book just out entitled The Last Line of Defense: How to Beat the Left in Court. Eric is a fighter who beat back Biden's disastrous policies as Attorney General and in the U.S. Senate, has been working hard to defend our America First agenda and the radical left from the radical left. Get your copy today. All right, so I got the link, the Amazon link down there in the description below, but you could just go to Amazon and pick up a copy, support, and get this information, because this is the truth is the left seems to play the game, and you guys know it. They play it at a much dirtier level, sneakier level. It seems like they have so many more tools in the tool shed than we do, and they fight to win, and it seems like we fight not to lose so many times. Eric Schmitt is a fighter. He's not one of those guys. I'm grateful to get him back on the podcast. Let's bring him on.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm at the White House with my dad, and you're watching The AlecLace Show.
You're listening to the AlecLace Show. The future is family.
Joining me now, Senator Eric Schmitt. Welcome back to the AlecLace Show.
Good to be with you again, man.
Well, it's nice to have you here. Always honored to get you. Now, you got a huge book that just dropped on Tuesday, and I seen President Trump put out the Truth Social about the book. Now, it has to be pretty good to get it. You can't get a bigger plug for the book than that, right? That was pretty cool.
No, I am very appreciative of President Trump endorsing the book. And, when President Trump calls you a fighter, frame that up in the office probably, right? So
yeah, definitely. All right, so the book, The Last Line of Defense: How to Beat the Left in Court. I think obviously a timely book right now. You cover a lot of the different ways. Obviously, you were the AG prior to becoming the senator there in Missouri. And right now, we need to find ways to beat the left in court, because they continue to. That's the one way they keep to stop Trump right now, is with all these injunctions that they're throwing out with Trump. Finally, we got a Supreme Court ruling. But you take us back in this book to some of the big wins you had against the left. One of the few people to do it. So take us through how you cover this stuff in the book here.
yeah, this is really kind of a field manual on what it's like to be on the front lines against the left-wing lawfare machine and win. And I think there's a lot of lessons learned for the fights ahead. And that's why I wrote the book, Last Line of Defense: How to Beat the Left in Court. Maybe get on Amazon or wherever now. But yeah, you go back. Look, I think there's a tendency, Alec, to sort of think some of this stuff was inevitable. We're kind of on the other side of the fever dream. President Trump is back in office. There's all these great things happening. But if you kind of go back in time just a few years, it was a dark time, right? You had lockdowns and compulsory COVID shots and DEI struggle sessions and open borders and CRT in our schools and censorship from the government. And so when I was AG, we saw that landscape and we decided, you know what, we're not going to take this laying down. We're going to stand up. We're going to fight. We took on the vaccine mandates. We took it to the Supreme Court. We won. Student loan debt forgiveness. We filed that lawsuit, took it to the Supreme Court, and we won. We filed this Missouri versus Biden case that unveiled this censorship, or uncovered this vast censorship enterprise. We took the deposition of Fauci. We took the deposition of Elvis Chan. We sued 50 school districts for mask mandates. We took on ESG and we won. So it really is, the lesson there is, if you stand up and you have the courage and you fight back, we should not cede the courts to the left. If we go fight there, we can win. And that's what the book is all about.
Yeah, I'm here in the communist state of New Jersey, and we had no help during that whole time. Like, especially you're talking about rewinding the clock to the mask mandates and to the mandated vaccines and stuff. What a horrible time that we all had to go through there. But also, too, like you mentioned, like the student loan forgiveness thing. Like, I remember, and they get on President Donald Trump saying, like, oh, he's a dictator. He's not listening to the Supreme Court. And then you had Joe Biden, who explicitly came out and said, yeah, the Supreme Court ruled against me, but I'm going to do it anyway when it came to the student loans.
That's right. And what the book does, Last Line of Defense: How to Beat the Left in Court, is like that case. That's a great example. Glad you brought it up, Alec. If Missouri didn't bring that lawsuit, he would have got away with it. And here's why. A lot of these cases come down to standing, meaning, is somebody injured? Can they bring the lawsuit? It's not just, are they right or are they wrong? You have to have a plaintiff that has an injury that's recognized by the court, right? And so what our injury was, we said, Missouri's got this little-known student loan servicing agency called Mohila. It might lose some money if you forgive all this debt. So we went and said, that's our injury. And in the oral argument Supreme Court all came down to the standing question. And we had standing, therefore we won, and saved taxpayers $500 billion, literally $500 billion. So again, it's about being smart. It's about being savvy. It's about understanding the landscape. But most importantly, it's about having courage. And this book is, look, I hope AGs read it. I hope people in the legal community read it. But it's really written for like your audience, like normal people who are seeing all this stuff happening and like, how is all this stuff connected and what did we do and how can we continue to win?
Yeah, I got the link to the book down in the description below. The last line of defense, how to beat the left in court, and it just seems like, Senator, like the left, and I constantly say this on the show too. It just seems like the left plays this game at such a higher level. It seems like they're just always nonstop. They're unified, and they don't care about anything else other than winning. When it seems like sometimes on our side, it's always like, well, we're afraid to upset them. We don't want to look bad, and it's like we're kind of playing a little pussyfoot here a little bit when they're coming hardball right down the center lane all the time.
Well, I think one of the, I'm glad President Trump endorsed the book because one of the great gifts I think he's given the Republican Party is the confidence to fight. And that wasn't probably a hallmark of the Republican Party years ago, and maybe even some right now. But, I grew up in a working class neighborhood and, I'm not afraid of a scrap. And when you believe in this country and you see all the things that are on the line, you got to fight for it. And if what you find out, and I wrote this in the book too, a lot of politicians and other people, they like going to the ribbon cuttings. They like all the handshakes and accolades that they get. But that's not why I do this. Like there's something on the line much bigger than that. And I just happened to find myself in that situation when I was AG. You could do something about it. And to this day, Alec, in Missouri, I live in the St. Louis area. When I go to the grocery store, the most common comment I'll get is, hey, thanks for standing up for our kids during that era, right? It was wild and parents felt helpless. So there's a lot of, I think, pride you can have when you're willing to stand in that arena and fight back.
Well done, because so many of us parents were just so destroyed during that whole time period too. So, but I wanted to ask about the open borders. Now, you cover this in the book here as well, because every senator or congressman I was interviewing, during Biden's debacle as president, we're all saying the same thing. Every state's a border state, because they were shipping these illegals all over the place and stuff. So, how did you kind of attack the open borders in court, and how do you cover that in the book?
Yeah, so there's a few chapters dedicated to what we did. We kind of held back the flood for a while, right? So like when Biden came in, he had like 90 plus executive orders in his first, week. And most of those were to undo the protections that President Trump put in place. Like think of Title 42, think of Remain in Mexico. And he also stopped construction of a border wall that Congress had allocated money for. So we went in and we filed a lawsuit and said, no, you can't do that. Congress has already allocated the money. So ultimately we got that money released for starting to build the border wall. And now, of course, with the one big, beautiful bill, we're going to complete the border wall. But we basically we tied them up long enough to at least keep some of President Trump's policies in place. But I also think, having that issue front and center for voters, seeing it, the litigation, the discovery, some of the things that came out about just the numbers of people who are coming here illegally and the gotaways, I think that helped put that issue on the ballot. But of course, President Trump made that a signature issue in the campaign, and people weighed in on it then too. And I think, again, going back to President Trump, when he came down that escalator, the immigration issue, not a lot of people wanted to talk about it. And now you look at the polling on this, Alec. The people are with us on this. They think mass migration should be met with mass deportations. And I think the Biden administration, the Democrats, really overplayed their hand here. They don't actually really believe in borders, and they let the American people know that, and the American people rejected it.
But there was somewhere along the line here, there was a shift, because as you watched, the way the vernacular was with Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, if you turn back the clock, they were all, because it's such an issue that the people of the United States wanted to see, stop this stuff at the border. Let's deport people. Let's get immigration reform. Everybody was for that. The Democrats saw that as an important thing that Barack ran on. They called him the deporter in chief. Bill Clinton deported millions of people out, and it was a winning issue for them. Somewhere along the line, all of a sudden, they took the complete reverse on this and decided we're going to allow everybody to come in. Where was that shift? When did that happen?
I think when Biden came in, there's a reason. You got to remember, too. Remember, Biden wasn't winning that Democrat primary. Bernie Sanders was. And then right before COVID hit, they kind of did a switcheroo. Obama cut a deal, I think, and Biden became like the front guy. And we all know now he was, mentally compromised. But I think they populated that policy group in the White House with a bunch of left-wing gender studies majors from Harvard who like literally don't believe that borders should matter. They believe we're all global citizens. And why wouldn't you let people from other places come in here for free? That's what they really believe. And they don't even try to use the language of Bill Clinton. I mean, you're right. Bill Clinton, even Barack Obama, by the way, Barack Obama was deporting people, but not to the extent we see now, but he was. But something changed. It's the left has really captured that party, and they're the ones obviously driving this lawfare. And so one of the reasons I wrote the book, Last Line of Defense, is to say, hey, I've seen this. Everybody sees it. Here are the tactics for fighting back and winning. By the way, I got to say, I'm looking at your backdrop here. Can I interrupt this very important conversation? And I see Ron Johnson and I see Rick Scott back there. I don't see Senator Eric Schmitt's mug.
I was just telling your assistant before I got you on the board somewhere, but this morning trying to set this up, I said, I'm going to have to because I got this thing. You can unravel it. I got,
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, okay. You are on the board. I just didn't take time to position you in there.
Okay. All right. Sorry for the distraction.
You made the cut, though.
Okay. Thank you.
and what I was going to say there, too, is with the board, that's why, that's why we have, I think, Tulsi Gabbard now. That's why we have RFK Jr. now. Yeah. That's why these people that were lifelong Democrats have come across. Tulsi Gabbard was somebody, even when she ran for president as a Democrat, and she was at the time, still strict on wanting border security and immigration reform and all that stuff. So, and a lot of the people you talk to say, well, I didn't change parties. The party changed. And that's what we all watched.
Right. And I also think, too, you want to understand the problems that the Democrats are having with younger voters right now. A lot of this goes back to, I talk about in the book, Last Line of Defense, is the COVID hysteria, the COVID tyranny, what they put kids through, not being able to go to school, separating them from their social networks. When they went to school, they had to wear masks all day long, even though kids were twice as likely to die of a dog attack than they were from COVID. They knew who was in charge. They know who was doing it. It was the Democrats who got drunk with this power they never should have had, and they exercised it in ways that were just sort of unimaginable. And so, I think for me, I was fighting back against that. We were exposing the gender unicorn and the pyramid of oppression stuff that was in our schools and the forced masking. And so I think what the Democrats never got was that they were actually the machine, right? And we were the ones raging against it.
Well, here in Jersey, we didn't have anybody. They put in these woke laws, but if you're in Jersey, they made it where like if your kid tells the teacher that they want to be a transgender, like if a young boy says, "Oh, I want to be a girl," in Jersey, their teachers aren't required to call the parents, right? They don't have to call your parents and tell you that, hey, your kid is wanting to put on a dress. So they keep secrets.
They would have rooms. They would have changing rooms that they wouldn't tell parents about. So that if a kid came to school in the morning dressed a certain way,
could feel comfortable wearing,
and they wouldn't tell the parent. I mean, it's like this stuff is crazy.
And then they were suing the schools that weren't following the policy. So it was like, it says, but you guys at least attacked it a little. You attacked some of the woke stuff down in Missouri, right? I mean,
for sure. And also, in the book, I also note, you remember this guy named Scott Smith, who was in Loudoun County, Virginia, who showed up. And they were talking about, people make up these problems with transgender bathrooms and all that. He's like, my daughter was just assaulted, and you moved this kid, this guy who was dressed as a girl, you moved it to another district, something else happened there. They didn't even acknowledge what happened to his daughter, and they were acting like it was all made up stuff, and it wasn't. And I think that kind of stuff turned the tide, honestly. And so like in Missouri, think about Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, right? Like, I'm not talking about like Chicago, St. Louis County, like New York, Springfield, Missouri, they had a superintendent that was hiding documents about what this kind of how they were training teachers with this critical race theory stuff. This stuff was everywhere, and it was coming from these kind of think tanks and groups that put on these presentations about how you can be woke and how you can be sensitive and all this nonsense. And they were hiding it from parents. And part of what we did was expose it. We were on the parent side, and then you saw some of these school boards turn over to change some of that policy.
I think it's almost, it might just be as simple as because Trump is for it, they're against it. I mean, that could, because this is another issue with the men and women's locker rooms that doesn't make any sense why they're taking a hard stand on that either. And it could just be because Trump wants men out of women's sports that they want them in.
They're defending crime in D.C. now.
Yeah.
Right? Like Trump's against crime in D.C., so they're now against that. You got a senator going down to El Salvador to have margaritas with an MS-13 gang member because Trump was trying to deport this guy. They've totally lost their minds with this Trump derangement syndrome. And by the way, it's why I don't think they've hit rock bottom yet. I think they they have not learned much, and the legacy media certainly hasn't learned anything from what November 2024 meant.
And they did everything they possibly could to take him out to make sure that he couldn't get there. I mean, they tried every single thing. They weaponized our justice system to try to take him out, take his name off the ballots. I mean, they went hard to try to stop him from getting. I think because they knew that they had no chance to beat him if it was going to be a straight up election, and that's part of the other problem with election integrity.
Well, think about it. And again, why I wrote the last line of defense. We got to beat their lawfare by being smart and playing for real in courts. But yes, think about it. If you want to understand why they didn't want Trump back in office, look at what Tulsi Gabbard's exposing now with this Russiagate stuff. That's exactly why they didn't want him back in. They knew what they did, and they didn't want it exposed again, and and they were willing to literally throw him in jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and that's it. The lawfare got out of control, and everybody's seen that too. And I think some of the people that weren't crazy on the left, they could see, like, wait a minute, they're charging this guy with stuff that nobody in the history of New York City
Right.
ever been charged with. So I think some of the people started to wake. I know Joe Rogan, that's what woke him up, was the lawfare that they attacked him with.
Yeah, and the censorship. I think that's the other thing, is seeing what they were willing to do with big tech behemoths to silence normal Americans. I mean, in the lawsuit, Missouri versus Biden, that we talk about in the book, on day 3, they started this stuff. They started censoring RFK Jr. They started censoring. Ironically, there's a guy by the name who's a plaintiff in the lawsuit. His name's Dr. Jay Bhattacharya out of Stanford. He was talking about something called natural immunity, and Fauci tried to destroy his life. He's now the head of NIH. So there's something kind of cool about what happened, where the rebels, and I would include myself in that category at the time, are now kind of inside the castle. You got Gabbard, you got Kennedy. You got Bhattacharya, you got me, who are now on the inside, and we want to expose all this stuff. And I think if you do it, and there has to be accountability, if you do it, our country will be much better for it. But they were all part of this kind of effort to have power and control, right? And it didn't matter what they did to keep it.
The key word you said there, again, the last line of defense, how to beat the left in court. I got the link down in the description below. The key word you said there, Senator, is accountability. I've been harping on it, as many other people have, and it just seems like when the Democrats had the ball in their court, we saw people in handcuffs. We saw people serve sentences. Now it's in our court. Are we going to see the same thing? Are we you're in the fight there? Do we see handcuffs? Do we see people serve time as a result of what happened with this Russiagate?
I think so. I think that's the next step. I think the first step was, and I don't have any inside info on this, it's just my opinion. I think the first stage of this was Tulsi Gabbard exposing all this, because what we know now for sure with internal documents was that Hillary Clinton, their team, worked with the Soros organization to make all this stuff up, to distract from her email problem. And then that became the Steele dossier, that then became laundered through into an intelligence report. And Brennan and others knew that it was false. They knew it, and they doctored it anyway. And I think that, Obama, because of, ironically, the Trump case, the presidential immunity case, he may have immunity here. But there's no immunity for Clapper, there's no immunity for Brennan, and there's no immunity for Comey. And if the statute of limitations is run, there isn't a statute of limitations on the ongoing conspiracy. So I had an op-ed out about with a path to indictments. I think it would involve a conspiracy to defraud the United States. And those 3 ought to have lawyers probably on retainer right now.
Well, I pray that it's followed through with, because I think it would mean so much to so many of us to see actual people serving a sentence or just paying the price for what they did, because we all went through it.
Yeah, you can't look, Alec, you can't think about what they did. They didn't like the guy, Trump, in 2016. So they created a fake story to spy on him, a presidential candidate, because they didn't think he was going to fit in Washington or whatever the reasoning was. They spied on him, and then they knew it was all nonsense after that, and they continued this narrative to try to upend the will of the people effectively, right, and sideline his first administration if they could. Then they used all that to censor, you called everything under the sun, Russian misinformation, disinformation, the same reason they tried to censor the Hunter Biden laptop. In the book, we take the deposition of Elvis Chan. He walks through all that. They were having weekly meetings with big tech companies saying this is a Russian hack and leak operation. And a Twitter executive has an affidavit saying that, yeah, they were talking about Hunter Biden specifically. And then, of course, when he's out of office and he announces he's going to run again, what happens 3 days later? 3 days later, the assistant prosecutor in Atlanta visits the White House counsel's office, The number 3 person at DOJ goes to Alvin Bragg's office. And then, of course, you got Jack Smith, whose sole mission was to put Trump in jail. All that happened. This was all about getting Trump. And it's a Soviet-style justice. And one of the reasons why I wrote the book, Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court, is we have to understand this is what we're up against. And we better have the guts to stand up and fight back. I did it. More people can do it, should do it, are doing it. But this is a new era. And if we believe in this country, want to save it, we better have the guts to fight for it.
No question about it. Well said, Senator. But, you know, and I realize, too, like if James Clapper goes to prison for 6 months, that ain't going to help me afford food at the grocery store. And that ain't going to help me be able to get a cheaper rate on my home. And it's like, I realize that it's like that has no real impact on what's happening in my personal life. But it's like, it just seems like because there's so much crow that we had to eat. It's almost like with the COVID, like because I never got vaccinated. And during that time, I had to battle everybody, it seemed like. It seemed like it was the neighborhood versus me, the job versus me. It was everybody versus me and my family. And now that it's all over, everyone just kind of forgets that it all happened, except the people that went through it. And it's the same with defending Trump during the whole Russiagate and all that stuff. So it's like we just want some justification and accountability for things like that.
I agree. And by the way, the people who are probably most intolerant of your decision not to get the shot are the ones that had the yard sign out in their front lawn saying, "In this house we believe in da 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 da."
Yeah, yeah.
But not for guys making a personal decision like that, or not somebody who chooses not to wear a mask outside because they know it's all BS. So I think that some of their hypocrisy was exposed. But to your point, I don't think you should be able to get away with what they did. Which was to really try to subvert the will of the people. And now you have evidence of it. So something's got to go down.
Yeah, I agree. I think Fauci should be number one that goes in prison. That's my own personal opinion. Let me switch. I got the book down there. The link is in the description. Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court. Last thing I want to touch on before I get you out of here is the crime. We're seeing it being battled in D.C. I'm down there constantly, and it's a disgrace that that's our city's capital. But you right now in St. Louis have been making monster. You have the FBI sending in more agents to St. Louis. You've been able to get control of the crime down there. What's the story in the situation with the city of St. Louis as it relates to the crime?
Yeah. So one of the conversations I had with Department of Justice folks, including Kash Patel, when he was going through his nomination, was, hey, you've expressed a desire to get some of these FBI agents out of Washington and into the field. I got just the place for you. It's in St. Louis, sort of my hometown. That, as a former AG, I think this isn't 2020 anymore. This idea that they told us you should defund the police and you need social workers on every corner. You know what? The world needs social workers, but you also need a police presence and a prosecutor who's going to prosecute violent crime. So one of my former chief deputies is going to be the U.S. attorney in St. Louis. We're going to have an increased law enforcement presence, and we're going to prosecute the bad guys. And we're not going to apologize for it. This is what we need to do to clean up our streets. And so, so there's a historic investment of FBI agents coming to St. Louis. I imagine it'll be a model, I hope, for other places. And really what they're doing is they're going after these gangbangers and violent criminals, right? And the people who are most affected by this, I'm just speaking St. Louis, predominantly black communities and grandmothers who are tired of sweeping up the glass on Sunday mornings when they just want to, they just want safety. And, these woke activists who fight this stuff along the way, they're just wrong. And we have to be unafraid just to say, you know what, you're wrong about it. We're going to do it anyway. And we're going to provide safety for people who need it most. So it's happening in D.C. That's a different deal because obviously D.C. is not a state, and it's but for cities across the country, New Jersey, other places, right? I mean, people deal with crime in cities and they shouldn't have to. And so help is on the way, at least in St. Louis.
And the other part of this, last thing is the substance abuse and the mental health issues, because that's what it is here. Like when you walk through, like at Penn Station, New York, or Penn Station, Newark up here in Jersey, that's what it is. It's a bunch of people walking around talking to themselves. They look like zombies, or you got drunks that are laying on the street. So it's like, other than the crime element of the people that are committing the crime, it's the drug addicts and alcoholics, and it is the mentally ill patients that should be in a rubber room. Instead, they're walking around your neighborhood. But those are the two things we got to address in all of these cities.
Totally agree. And I think, again, part of the benefit of being on the other side of the fever dream I talk about in the book is the American people have weighed in on a lot of these things now. Like we had this period where the left, they put everything, they came at us on everything with their whole experiment and it didn't work. And we were able to fight back and win in a lot of instances, but the American people have sat in that jury box as well, and they weighed in November of 2024.
Yeah. Well said, man. The time goes too quick. I could keep you here for another half hour. That was great. I got the link to the book, The Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court, recommended by President Donald Trump. I know we got Vice President J.D. Vance, got a blurb on the back there as well. So, Senator Eric Schmitt, thank you so much. Good luck with the book sales, and I hope you'll come back and join me on the AlecLace show.
We'll do it. Thanks for what you do, Alec. Appreciate it.
All right, grateful to have Senator Eric Schmitt back on the podcast. Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court. Link down in the description below. Go to Amazon, wherever you buy books, pick up a copy. Makes a great gift. Also, too, if you have somebody that's a MAGA lover, in the MAGA world, and follows politics, has his head screwed on straight, pick them up a copy and send it their way. So grateful to have him on the podcast here, and working on some guests for next week. I believe I'll make the announcement. I'm pretty confident about this. I believe I have Congresswoman Nancy Mace for next week, so make sure you bring it back for that. What did you guys make about this Cracker Barrel? This thing went viral yesterday because they changed the logo. They took the old hump there off the logo, and they just made it. I mean, it looks dumber, I would say, the logo. I don't know. It went. I guess it's just a part of, trying to erase history or something. I've never been to a Cracker Barrel in my life. So, I mean, that's, I don't know much about it. I didn't even know what they do there. I didn't know they serve food. I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know the first thing about Cracker Barrel. So this thing kind of blew up yesterday, but it just seems like it fits the theme because the rebranding week has been a disaster because you just had MSNBC rebrand to MS Now. The logo looks ridiculous, and it almost looks like it's PMS like on their logo, but it looks so stupid the way that they changed it. And now you have Cracker Barrel, who took away the figure on the thing, and now it's just looks like a gas station sign or whatever it is. So people are hammering them for that. But I don't know. It's just why? It's so dumb that they do these things, and they don't improve them. They never make them any better, like when they do all this stuff. Nothing ever gets improved when they do it. I mean, I know we've seen it when they removed so many of the different logos, like with the, what's the butter? Like the Land O'Lakes. They took the Indian off the Land O'Lakes butter. Aunt Jemima. They took Aunt Jemima off the things. Like, what do these do? Who do these things help? These are all liberal concepts. Like, oh, we're going to do this. That's going to help make changes. What? People are so dumb. Anyway, I don't know. What did you think about that? Did you have a comment on that? Were you distraught about the Cracker Barrel logo getting changed? What say you? All I do know is that Trump is winning and continuing to win, and I love watching every minute of it. And it is, just like Senator Schmitt said, he's got these lunatics promoting crime. Like, no, we want the crime back in D.C. We want men back in women's sports. We want the border back wide open. Like, this is the platform they're running on. Like, this is what they're hopeful for. So, and the lawfare is important. We know all the injunctions, 40 injunctions for Trump in 6 months. And then the Supreme Court steps in and says they got to stop with this stuff. They're still doing it. Joe Biden had 14 injunctions against him in 4 years. Trump's had 40 in 6 months. So it's been out of hand. All right. So that's what I got for you guys today. Don't forget to check out Senator Eric Schmitt's book, The Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court. Link down in the description below. Grateful you guys tuned in. Make sure you bring it back here on Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Rumble. I will be back here with you. That's it. God bless our parents and our listeners out there. God bless our police, our first responders. God bless our military and our police, our veterans. God bless America. And I will catch you guys on Tuesday.
You're listening to the AlecLace Show. The future is